During my sister's wellness graduation ceremony, her life coach whispered, "Get your brother to invest $800,000 in our expansion, or I'll tell everyone Margaret relapsed into pills." I calmly reached into my jacket pocket and activated something that made her face go white. Before I continue, I should tell you how we got here. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I opened it. Cream-colored paper, my sister's handwriting, the careful loops she'd perfected in Catholic school 50 years ago. Margaret never sent physical mail anymore. Everything was texts, quick phone calls between her errands, and my volunteer work at the Veterans Center. A letter meant something serious. I poured coffee, settled into the chair by the window overlooking the Calgary skyline, and opened it. February morning, the kind of bright winter day where the Rockies stand sharp against blue sky, so clear you could count the peaks. The mountains had been there my whole life, steady and unchanging. I thought my relationship with my sister was the same. The letter started simply enough. "William, I need to talk to you about something important. Meet me for dinner Friday? The Keg on 4th, 7 o'clock. It's about my future. I'm excited to share this with you." I texted back immediately. Of course. Looking forward to it. Friday arrived cold and clear. I left my house in Elbow Park early, drove through downtown Calgary watching the office towers light up against the darkening sky. The Keg was busy, professionals unwinding after the work week, the smell of grilled steak and wood smoke. Margaret was already there, sitting in a booth near the back. She looked different. My sister was 58, 4 years younger than me, and the divorce had aged her. When David left her last September after 31 years of marriage, she'd lost 15 pounds she couldn't afford to lose, stopped coloring her gray hair, moved through days like someone underwater. But the woman in the booth looked vibrant. New haircut, subtle makeup, energy in her movements I hadn't seen in months. "Will?" She stood, hugged me tight. "Thank you for coming." "You look wonderful, Maggie." I used her childhood nickname, the one only I was allowed. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." That's actually what I wanted to talk about. She settled back into the booth, practically glowing. "I've joined something incredible. A women's empowerment circle. It's changed my life." I ordered a beer, listened while she explained. After David left, she'd been drowning. The house too big, too quiet, full of memories of a marriage that turned out to be a lie. His secretary, 29 years old, pregnant. The cliché of it had hurt almost as much as the betrayal. Margaret had stopped seeing friends, stopped going to her book club, spent weeks just existing. Then a woman at Starbucks noticed her crying, started a conversation. Her name was Natasha. She ran something called the New Horizons Women's Circle. Support groups, wellness workshops, retreats in the mountains. Margaret attended one meeting and felt something shift. These women understood. They'd been through divorce, loss, reinvention. They were building new lives together. "It sounds like exactly what you needed," I said carefully. "I'm glad you found support." "It's more than support, Will. It's transformation." Margaret's eyes shone with conviction I recognized from when we were kids, and she discovered a new passion. "Natasha teaches us to reclaim our power, to invest in ourselves, to stop being victims and become victors." The language bothered me. Victim, victor, transformation. But Margaret was smiling for the first time in months, so I pushed the concern aside. "I want you to meet her," Margaret continued. "Natasha's holding a special dinner next week for family members, so they can understand what we're doing. Will you come?" "Of course I will." The dinner was at a restaurant in Kensington. Upscale but not ostentatious. 15 women and their guests filled a private room. Natasha stood at the head of the table, 35 maybe, striking in a way that seemed designed rather than natural. Dark hair pulled back, severe, expensive dress, smile that stayed fixed on her mouth without reaching her eyes. She worked the room like a politician, greeting each guest with practiced warmth. When she reached me, her handshake was firm, aggressive. "William, Margaret talks about you constantly." Her voice was smooth, controlled. "Petroleum engineering, isn't that right? Worked for Suncor for 35 years? Retired now," I said. "How did you know that?" "Margaret's very proud of you." Natasha's gaze moved past me, cataloging details. "She mentioned you live in Elbow Park. Beautiful neighborhood. Those heritage homes must be worth quite a bit these days. The comment landed wrong. Not the words themselves, but the calculation behind them. I'd spent 4 decades negotiating with contractors and executives. I knew when someone was assessing value. Dinner was catered. Expensive. Natasha gave a presentation about the New Horizons philosophy. Empowerment through investment. Women supporting women. Building financial independence. The word sounded good, but underneath ran a current of something else. References to levels and certifications. Mentions of program costs and expansion opportunities. Testimonials from women about how much they'd grown after investing in advanced training. After dinner, Natasha approached me privately. Your sister's made remarkable progress. She was so broken when she found us. Now look at her. Margaret was across the room laughing with other women, animated and alive. You've helped her, I acknowledged. What exactly does this program cost? We prefer to call it an investment in self-actualization. Natasha's smile never wavered. The foundation level is $5,000, but Margaret's ready for level 3. That's $25,000. It includes a month-long retreat in Banff, intensive coaching, certification in our methodology. $25,000, I repeated. That's substantial. Can you put a price on healing? On reclaiming your life after trauma? She leaned closer, voice dropping. Margaret mentioned you're very generous with family, very protective. I'm sure you want to support her growth. Every instinct I'd honed over 40 years in business started firing warnings, the practiced phrases, the emotional manipulation, the immediate focus on money, the way she'd researched my career and home before meeting me. I'll think about it, I said. That night, I sat in my home office, staring at my late wife's photo on the desk. Sarah had died 4 years ago, cancer taking her in 6 brutal months. She'd always been better at reading people than me. If she were here, what would she say about Natasha? I opened my laptop and searched. New Horizons Women's Circle Calgary. The website was professional, full of stock photos of women laughing, mountains, luxury retreats. Testimonials praised Natasha Morrison's transformative methods. But something felt off about the construction, like a facade hiding structural problems. I dug deeper, searched for Natasha Morrison Calgary, found her LinkedIn, wellness coach, certified in various modalities I'd never heard of. Previous experience as a spa manager, a yoga instructor, a life coach. The resume had gaps, inconsistencies in dates. On her Instagram, photos showed Natasha at expensive restaurants, designer clothes, luxury trips. The captions talked about abundance and manifestation. Comments from followers gushed about her wisdom. But when I looked closely, many of the accounts had few followers themselves. Generic profiles, the artificial feel of manufactured engagement. I searched Natasha Morrison scam. Nothing definitive appeared, but I found references on forum posts. A woman in Vancouver mentioned losing money to a wellness program that sounded similar. Another post from Edmonton described a pyramid scheme disguised as women's empowerment. The posts were old, deleted partially, hard to track. By midnight, I had suspicions, but no proof. I called Margaret the next morning. Maggie, about this program. Have you looked into Natasha's background? Her voice immediately cooled. What do you mean? I mean her credentials, her history. How long has she been running this? Will, don't do this. Don't ruin the first good thing I've found since David destroyed my life. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I'm trying to make sure you're safe. Safe? I'm a grown woman. I don't need my big brother vetting my decisions like I'm 16. I just think you should be careful about how much money you invest in this. The pause stretched long and cold. Margaret already paid for level 3, didn't she? I paid $15,000, she said. I'm taking out a loan for the rest. The retreat starts in 2 weeks. Maggie, that's your divorce settlement. David's required payments. You can't afford to lose that money. I'm not losing it. I'm investing in myself. Something David never did in 31 years. Just let me look into this more before you commit further. No. Her voice was ice. You never approved of anything I did. When I married David, you said he wasn't ambitious enough. When I started my bookstore, you said retail was risky. When I went back to school at 40, you questioned the degree. Now I've finally found something that makes me feel whole again, and you're trying to take it away. Margaret, I love you. I only want what's best for you. Then support me, or stay out of it. The line went dead. I sat holding the phone, the same hollow feeling I'd had when Sarah's doctor said there was nothing more they could do. Watching someone you love walk toward disaster and being powerless to stop them. I called Marcus Chen, a friend who worked in financial fraud investigation for the RCMP. We'd met years ago through the Engineering Association, stayed in contact through quarterly lunches and occasional hockey games. Marcus, I need advice. Unofficial. He listened while I explained the situation. Natasha, the program, the costs. Margaret's vulnerability. Sounds like a classic affinity fraud scheme, he said. They target people going through transitions. Divorce, retirement, loss. Build trust through shared identity, then extract money through escalating commitments. How much has your sister invested so far? 15,000. Borrowing another 10 for a retreat. That's the hook. Get them invested enough that they can't walk away without admitting they were fooled. What do you know about this Natasha Morrison? Not much. That's why I'm calling. Give me her full name, date of birth if you have it, business name. I'll run an unofficial check. But William, even if I find something, your sister might not listen. These schemes create powerful psychological bonds. I understand. I just need to know what I'm dealing with. Marcus called back 2 days later. What he told me made my blood pressure spike. Natasha Morrison, formerly Natasha Chen, formerly Natasha Kowalski. She's changed her name twice in the past decade. No criminal record, but she's been involved in 3 different MLM schemes that collapsed. Left creditors holding the bag each time, moved cities, started fresh. Go on. Current business, New Horizons Women's Circle, is registered as an Alberta corporation. On paper, it's a coaching and retreat company. But the financial structure underneath is textbook pyramid. Women pay for levels, recruit other women, earn commissions on recruits' payments. The retreat fees are astronomical relative to actual costs. She's probably clearing 80% profit. Is that illegal? Gray area. If she's selling actual services, even overpriced ones, it's hard to prosecute as fraud. But I found something else. 2 years ago in BC, a woman named Patricia Bennett filed a civil suit against Natasha, claimed she was pressured into investing her divorce settlement, $50,000, in a wellness center that never materialized. The case was settled out of court, sealed records. I felt cold fury building. How many others? Hard to say. These operators are careful. They target vulnerable women, create intense loyalty, discourage family involvement. By the time victims realize they've been scammed, they're too embarrassed to report it. Can I get copies of anything you found? Officially, no. Unofficially, I'll email you what I can. But William, be careful. If your sister's already invested emotionally and financially, confronting her with this might push her further away. I have to try. I know. Just think strategically about how and when. That night I printed everything Marcus sent. Corporate registrations showing Natasha's name changes. LinkedIn profiles from her past identities. Screenshot from a deleted Facebook post where someone called her a con artist. The civil suit filing from Patricia Bennett in BC. I called Margaret. She didn't answer. I tried again the next morning. Voicemail. Texted. No response. Finally, I drove to her townhouse in Bridgeland. Her car was in the driveway. I rang the bell. Waited. Rang again. The door opened. Margaret stood there in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, hair pulled back, face set hard. I don't want to talk to you, Will. Maggie, please. I have information you need to see. I don't need to see anything except you respecting my boundaries. She's changed her name 3 times. She's been involved in schemes that collapsed and left people broke. There's a lawsuit from a woman in BC who lost $50,000. Margaret's eyes flashed. You investigated her? You had someone run a background check on my friend? She's not your friend. She's targeting you. No, you're trying to control me, just like you always have. Just like David did. Her voice rose. I thought you were different, Will. I thought you actually cared about my happiness, instead of just your need to be right. I do care. That's why I'm showing you this. Get off my property. Margaret. Now. Or I'm calling the police. I stood on her doorstep, papers in hand, watching my sister's face close against me. She stepped back and shut the door. The lock clicked with terrible finality. In my truck, I sat gripping the steering wheel. The mountains in the distance were indifferent, eternal. I had survived losing Sarah to cancer. I had survived 40 years in a brutal industry, but watching Margaret choose delusion over truth felt different. This was a loss I couldn't accept. Over the next 2 weeks, I tried everything. Left voicemails explaining what I'd found. Sent emails with attached documentation. Drove past her house hoping to catch her. She blocked my number. Blocked my email. When I knocked on her door, she didn't answer. I learned through our cousin Helen that Margaret had gone to the Banff retreat. Spent 10 days at a luxury lodge in the mountains doing intensive coaching. Helen thought it sounded wonderful. So transformative. Maybe you should try to be more supportive, Will. I researched the lodge. Found the website. Saw the photos of mountain views and spa facilities. Called pretending to inquire about booking. The woman who answered was cheerful. Oh, the New Horizons group just left yesterday. Wonderful ladies. They rented our entire facility for 10 days. What does that cost? For exclusive use? $35,000 for the period, plus catering, activities, staff. I did the math. 15 women at Margaret's retreat. If each paid $25,000, that was $375,000. Minus $35,000 for the actual lodge, maybe another $20,000 for food and activities. Natasha was clearing $300,000 profit from one retreat. Margaret returned from Banff glowing. I knew because Helen showed me photos Margaret had posted on Facebook. My sister standing with other women, mountains behind them, holding a certificate. Caption read, Level 3 certified, ready to lead others on their journey. Hashtag blessed, hashtag transformation, hashtag New Horizons. The comments were all supportive. So proud of you. You deserve this. Inspiring. I scrolled through, recognizing names from the dinner I'd attended. These women were deeply invested, emotionally and financially, in validating each other's choices. Then I saw Margaret's comment on someone else's post. She'd written, Some people will never understand transformation because they're threatened by your growth. I've had to create boundaries with family who can't support my journey. It's painful but necessary. She was talking about me. March turned into April. Calgary's winter slowly released its grip. I went to my shifts at the Veterans Center, had dinner with friends, maintained routines. But underneath, Margaret's absence was a constant ache. We'd talked almost every day for 60 years. Now, silence. Helen called in late April. Will, I'm worried about Margaret. What's wrong? She's talking about selling her townhouse. Says she needs liquid capital for a business opportunity. Level 5 certification plus partnership in Natasha's expansion plans. How much? $120,000. Her entire divorce settlement, plus she'd have to take out a loan against the house sale. I felt the floor drop. Helen, you have to talk to her. I tried. She said I wouldn't understand. That this is about building her future. She's moving in with Natasha to save on rent while the sale goes through. Give me Natasha's address. Will, don't do anything that'll make it worse. How could it be worse? Helen gave me the address reluctantly. A condo in Eau Claire, one of Calgary's priciest neighborhoods. I drove there that evening, parked across the street, watched. The building was modern glass and steel, units starting at $800,000. At 7:30, I saw Margaret leave. She was with 3 other women I recognized from the dinner. They walked to a nearby restaurant, laughing and talking. Margaret looked happy in a way that made my chest tight. What if I was wrong? What if this really was helping her? Then I saw Natasha leave the building. She was alone. On her phone, designer handbag, expensive coat. She walked to a Range Rover parked in the visitor spot. As she opened the door, I saw a man in the driver's seat. They kissed, not friendly, intimate. I took photos, Natasha getting in the Range Rover, the license plate, the man's face through the windshield. That night, I sent the photos to Marcus. Who's the guy? He called back the next morning. James Patterson, 38, lives in Canmore. Officially, he's a business consultant. Unofficially, he's been Natasha's partner in previous ventures. They ran a cryptocurrency investment scheme in Vancouver 3 years ago. Several people filed complaints, but by the time authorities investigated, they'd shut down and moved. So this is a pattern. They're running it together. Looks that way. I checked Patterson's financial records. He's got an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. My guess is that's where the real money goes. Can we stop them? Legally, it's complicated. They're selling coaching services. Overpriced, but not technically illegal. Unless someone files a fraud complaint and we can prove deliberate deception, there's not much law enforcement can do. What if I could get them on record admitting the scheme? William, don't do anything stupid. These people are professionals. They'll lawyer up immediately. I'm not going to do anything illegal. Just documented. I reached out to Patricia Bennett through her lawyer. After some persuasion and assurances of confidentiality, she agreed to talk. We met at a Tim Hortons in Vancouver. Patricia was 53, worn down in a way that spoke of battles fought and lost. She told me her story over coffee. After her divorce, she'd been destroyed. 28 years of marriage. Her husband left her for someone younger. She felt invisible and worthless. Natasha found her at a yoga class. Seemed so understanding. The women's circle felt like salvation. By the time I realized what was happening, I'd invested $47,000. Patricia's hands shook holding her cup. Level 5 certification. Partnership in a wellness center she was opening in Kelowna. I gave her my entire divorce settlement. Then she disappeared. I'm sorry. The worst part isn't losing the money. It's knowing I was that stupid, that desperate. I was a teacher for 30 years. I should have seen through it. You weren't stupid. You were targeted by someone who's very good at manipulation. Patricia looked at me directly. Save your sister, Mr. Brennan, whatever it takes. I drove back to Calgary thinking about Patricia's broken expression, about Margaret selling her house, about Natasha and James spending other people's pain on luxury vehicles and offshore accounts. I needed help, not just Marcus's unofficial information. I needed someone who understood these schemes from inside. Through Marcus's contacts, I found Diane Foster. She'd been Natasha's business partner 4 years ago, in a similar venture in Edmonton. They'd had a falling out. Natasha had frozen her out, kept all the money, left her with nothing. We met at a quiet restaurant in Edmonton. Diane was 48, sharp-eyed, carrying herself with the careful control of someone who'd been burned and learned from it. I know what she's doing in Calgary, Diane said. Same playbook. Target vulnerable women, build emotional dependency, extract maximum money, move to the next city when it collapses. How does it usually end? She'll milk it until the well runs dry. When women stop being able to pay for higher levels, she'll create a crisis. Say the expansion needs emergency funding or they'll lose everything they've invested. Get them to take out loans, mortgage their homes. Then she and James will vanish with the money. How do you know? Because I helped her do it in Edmonton. Diane's voice was flat. I recruited women, ran seminars, collected their money. I thought it was legitimate at first. By the time I understood, I was complicit. What changed? My mother called me crying. One of her friends from church had lost $60,000 in our program, mortgaged her house, was facing foreclosure. Diane met my eyes. That friend had been widowed 2 years earlier. She was lonely and scared. We prayed on that. I couldn't do it anymore. That's when Natasha cut you out? She said I was weak, that if I told anyone what we'd done, she'd make sure I went to prison for fraud. So I stayed quiet, kept my head down, hated myself. What if you could make it right? How? Help me stop her before she destroys my sister. Diane was quiet for a long time. Finally, what do you need? Over the next month, Diane and I built our case. She provided internal documents from the Edmonton operation, spreadsheets showing income versus actual costs, emails between Natasha and James, discussing their strategy, testimonials from women who'd lost everything. I hired my own private investigator to track Natasha's current activities, found records of luxury purchases, travel to the Caymans, property in James's name bought with cash. Meanwhile, Margaret sold her townhouse, moved completely into Natasha's condo, stopped responding to Helen's calls, created a Facebook page for her new business. Level 5 Empowerment Coaching with Margaret Brennan. Every attempt I made to reach her was rebuffed. She'd built a wall I couldn't penetrate. Then, in early June, an envelope arrived, not from Margaret, from Natasha. The letter was typed, professional. Mr. Brennan, it read. Your continued interference in Margaret's life is causing her significant distress. As her wellness coach and mentor, I'm advising you that any further contact will be considered harassment. Margaret is a grown woman making empowered choices. Your obsessive behavior is rooted in control issues you need to address. I've recommended Margaret file a restraining order if you persist. It was signed with Natasha's flourishing signature. I stared at that letter and something in me shifted. This woman had taken my sister, was destroying her financially and emotionally, and now was threatening me with legal action for trying to stop it. I called Richard Nguyen, a lawyer friend, explained the situation, asked if Margaret could actually sue me. For what? You haven't done anything illegal. But yes, she could file a civil complaint, claim you're interfering with her business relationships. It wouldn't win, but it would be expensive in public. What are my options? Document everything. Build an airtight case. Then find a way to show Margaret the truth in a way she can't deny. How do I do that when she won't talk to me? Get creative. Through June and July, I watched from a distance. Margaret's Facebook showed her recruiting other women into new horizons, hosting introduction sessions. The language she used was identical to Natasha's. She'd been completely assimilated. Diane kept me updated on Natasha's patterns. She's getting ready for the big exit, Diane said. August, maybe September. She'll announce some expansion opportunity that requires massive investment. Everyone goes all in. Then the expansion fails. Money's gone. She moves to another city. I need to stop it before then. You need Margaret to see it herself. Otherwise, she'll never believe you. In mid-August, I got the invitation. It arrived by email, addressed to family and friends of New Horizons Circle members. You're invited to our summer transformation graduation ceremony, Saturday, August 24th, at the Lake Louise Lodge. Celebrate the women who've achieved Level 5 certification and are ready to lead others on the journey to empowerment. The email listed Margaret as one of the graduates. I showed it to Diane. This is the setup. She's gathering everyone for the big ask. Family members with money, successful friends. She'll pitch the expansion during the celebration. I'm going. Be careful. Natasha will have security. She won't want you disrupting things. I won't disrupt. I'll just watch. Diane was quiet then. Let me come with you. I know how she operates. We might only get one shot at this. The week before the ceremony, Diane and I finalized our plan. I'd already bought a small digital recorder, the kind Marcus said was legal in Alberta for recording conversations you're part of. Diane helped me practice staying calm, asking the right questions, creating situations where Natasha might reveal herself. On August 23rd, I drove to Lake Louise. The lodge sat against the mountains like something from a postcard. Turquoise lake, glacier backdrop, luxury wrapped in natural beauty. The ceremony was tomorrow, but I'd booked a room for tonight. So had Diane under a fake name. We met in the lodge bar that evening, reviewing our strategy one more time. Tomorrow, during the ceremony, I'd try to talk to Margaret privately. If that failed, we'd move to Plan B, getting Natasha alone, recording her real intentions. At 10 p.m., I saw Natasha in the lodge restaurant. She was with James and 3 women I recognized from Margaret's Facebook. They were drinking wine, celebrating. Natasha was animated, confident, holding court. I watched her laugh with those women and felt cold rage. She'd perfected this. The caring mentor act, the empowerment language, all of it designed to extract every dollar while making victims feel grateful. Saturday morning arrived bright and clear. The ceremony was at noon in the lodge's grand hall. I dressed carefully, business casual, respectable. Diane wore a simple dress, playing the role of my date. We arrived at 11:30. The hall was already filling with women and their guests. Flowers everywhere, a stage at the front, chairs arranged in rows. I saw Margaret near the stage with other graduates. She wore a white dress, hairstyled, makeup perfect. She looked happy and successful and completely lost to me. Then she saw me. Her face went from surprise to anger in seconds. She walked over quickly. "What are you doing here?" "I was invited. I wanted to celebrate your achievement." Margaret's voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "You need to leave." "Maggie, please? Can we just talk for 5 minutes?" "No. You've done nothing but try to sabotage the best thing in my life. If you actually cared about me, you'd respect my choices." "I do care. That's why I'm here." Natasha appeared beside Margaret, her hand on my sister's shoulder. Protective. Possessive. "Is there a problem, Margaret?" "William was just leaving," Margaret said. Natasha smiled at me. The smile was warm and cold at the same time. "Mr. Brennan, how lovely that you came to support your sister. Why don't you find a seat? The ceremony will start soon." She steered Margaret away. I watched them go, saw Margaret's shoulders relax under Natasha's touch. The bond was deep. Breaking it would require more than reason. The ceremony began at noon. 20 women graduated. Each walked across the stage, received a certificate from Natasha, shared a tearful testimonial about transformation and empowerment. The audience applauded. Family members beamed. It looked completely legitimate. Margaret's turn came. She walked to the microphone, certificate in hand, and spoke about her journey. How destroyed she'd been after the divorce. How Natasha and New Horizons saved her. How she was now ready to help other women find their power. The words were Margaret's voice, but Natasha's script. After all the certificates were distributed, Natasha took the microphone. Her voice filled the hall, confident and compelling. "Today we celebrate these incredible women. But celebration is just the beginning. The real work starts now. We're ready to expand New Horizons across Western Canada to help thousands of women transform their lives. And we need your help." "Here it comes," Diane whispered beside me. Natasha continued. "We've secured an opportunity to purchase a retreat center in Jasper. 200 acres, luxury facilities, perfect for year-round programming. This will be our flagship location. A place where women can come for weeks-long intensive healing." Photos appeared on the screen behind her. A beautiful mountain property, cabins, lake, professional grounds. The investment required is substantial. $1 million. We're offering partnership opportunities to our Level 5 graduates and their families. For those who invest $100,000 or more, you become lifetime members with guaranteed returns as we expand. The room buzzed with excited conversation. I felt sick. "I know this seems like a big commitment," Natasha said. "But remember, you can't put a price on transformation, on changing lives, on building something lasting. Think of it as investing in a better future for women everywhere." She let that sink in then. "I'll be meeting with interested families individually after lunch. We have limited partnership slots available. This is a rare opportunity." The ceremony adjourned for catered lunch. People milled around, talking excitedly. I watched as several families approached Natasha, expressing interest. I found Diane. She's doing it exactly like I thought. $1 million she probably doesn't have. Fake property investment. She'll collect commitments, take deposits, then disappear. We need to get her alone. Through lunch, I watched Natasha work the room. She was brilliant at it, making people feel special, chosen, part of something bigger. I saw Margaret introduce her to families, glowing with pride. At 2 o'clock, families started meeting privately with Natasha in a small conference room, 15 minutes each. I saw them emerge looking excited, committed, ready to invest. At 3:30, Natasha's assistant found me. "Miss Morrison would like to speak with you, Mr. Brennan, about supporting Margaret's partnership opportunity." I followed her to the conference room. Natasha sat alone behind a table, papers spread out, looking every bit the professional businesswoman. "William, thank you for coming. Please, sit." I sat across from her. Diane had insisted I activate the recorder before this moment. I'd done it in the bathroom 15 minutes ago. It was running in my jacket pocket. "I'll be direct," Natasha said. Margaret has the opportunity to become a founding partner in our Jasper expansion. It's a $100,000 investment that will return substantial dividends. More importantly, it gives her purpose and leadership in something meaningful. That's a significant amount of money. It is. But you're a successful man. Retired engineer, beautiful home in Elbow Park. I'm sure you want to support your sister's future. The presumption in her voice was startling, the sense of entitlement. What exactly would Margaret get for $100,000? 20% stake in the Jasper property, guaranteed returns of 10% annually. Plus, she'd run the Level 5 training programs on site. It's a phenomenal opportunity. What's your background in property management? Natasha's smile tightened slightly. I've been in the wellness industry for 15 years. I've run successful ventures across Western Canada. Like the one in Edmonton that folded? Her expression went very still. I don't know what you're referring to. Or the cryptocurrency scheme in Vancouver. Natasha stood smoothly. I think this meeting is over. If you're going to make baseless accusations, they're not baseless. I've talked to Patricia Bennett. I've seen the civil lawsuit. I know about your partner James and the offshore accounts. Her face hardened completely. The warm mentor vanished. What remained was cold calculation. You've been investigating me. How very inappropriate. You're running a con, targeting vulnerable women. I know exactly who you are, Natasha. Or should I call you by one of your other names? She walked to the door, but instead of leaving, she locked it, turned back to me. When she spoke, her voice had changed. No more warmth, just business. Here's what's going to happen, William. You're going to invest in Margaret's partnership, $100,000, preferably more, maybe 200. Or, Natasha's smile was sharp as broken glass. Or, I tell everyone the truth about Margaret. What truth? That she relapsed. That she's been taking pills again. Oxys from David's old prescription. That I've been covering for her, trying to help her stay clean. But if you force me to, I'll have to reveal everything. For her own good, of course. The ice in my veins should have paralyzed me. Instead, it sharpened everything. Margaret never had a pill problem. Doesn't matter if it's true. Matters if people believe it. Natasha leaned against the door. Imagine, graduation day. All these women, all their families. I make a tearful announcement that Margaret can't accept her partnership because she's relapsed into addiction. That I tried to hide it, protect her. But in good conscience, I can't let her lead others when she's struggling herself. You're threatening to publicly shame my sister with a lie unless I give you money. I'm giving you an opportunity. Pay for Margaret's partnership. She gets her dream. Her reputation stays intact. Everyone's happy. And if I don't, then Margaret's humiliated in front of everyone she's come to trust. Her new friendship's destroyed. Her reputation ruined. And she'll know it's because you refused to support her. You'll lose her forever. The silence stretched. Natasha thought she had me. I could see it in her eyes. The assumption that I'd cave. That family love would override everything else. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the digital recorder, held it up. The red light blinked steady. Every word, Natasha. From the moment I walked into this room, her face drained of color. You recorded me? Alberta is a one-party consent province. Completely legal. She lunged for the recorder. I pulled back, stood, kept it out of reach. Give me that. No. You set me up. You manipulated this conversation. I opened the door. Diane was in the hallway with her phone out, recording video of the doorway. Insurance. Natasha saw her and froze. You can't use that recording. It's entrapment. It's evidence, I said, of extortion, blackmail, fraud. I'm sure the RCMP will be very interested. This is a private matter. Natasha's voice had gone shrill. A business negotiation. You threatened to falsely accuse my sister of drug addiction unless I paid you $200,000. That's textbook extortion. Natasha's expression cycled through rage, calculation, and finally cold acceptance. She smiled. It won't matter. None of this will matter. Why's that? Because Margaret will choose me anyway. You can play that recording for her. Show her your evidence. She'll call it fake. Edited. Another one of your controlling manipulations. She needs to believe in this, in me, more than she needs the truth. The words hit because they might be true. Margaret had invested everything. Her money, her identity, her future. Admitting she'd been conned meant admitting she'd been a fool. Some people would rather die than admit that. We'll see, I said. I walked past Natasha into the hallway. Diane followed. Behind us, I heard Natasha on her phone, voice urgent. James, we have a problem. In the lodge lobby, I found Margaret. She was with other graduates, laughing about something. When she saw my face, her smile died. Maggie, I need you to listen to something. Not now, Will. Yes, now, please. I pulled her aside despite her resistance. We went to a quiet corner of the lobby. Diane stood watch, making sure no one interrupted. What is this about? Margaret's voice was ice. I need you to hear a conversation I just had with Natasha. I don't care about your conversation. Whatever you said to her, whatever you're trying to pull, just listen, please. 60 years of being your brother. I'm asking for 2 minutes. Something in my tone made her pause. Fine, 2 minutes. I played the recording. Natasha's voice came through clearly. The demand for money, the threat to accuse Margaret of drug addiction, the blackmail, all of it. Margaret's face went through changes as she listened. Confusion, disbelief, recognition, horror. When it ended, she was shaking. She was going to tell everyone I relapsed. Her voice was small, broken. I don't even drink. She was going to destroy me unless you paid her. Yes. Margaret looked up at me, eyes wet. Why? Why would she do that? Because this is what she does, Maggie. I pulled out the file I'd brought, showed her everything. Patricia Bennett's story, the Edmonton operation, the name changes, the offshore accounts. The pattern repeated across years and cities. Margaret read through the pages, hands shaking. With each document, something inside her broke a little more. When she finished, she just sat there staring at nothing. I sold my house, she whispered. I gave her everything. I know. I cut you off. Called you controlling. Chose her over you. You were manipulated by a professional. This isn't your fault. Margaret started crying. Not gentle tears. Harsh, broken sobs. I wrapped my arms around my sister for the first time in 7 months. She collapsed against me. How could I be so stupid? You weren't stupid. You were hurt and lonely, and she exploited that. That's not stupidity. That's being human. We sat there while Margaret cried. Around us, the lodge hummed with afternoon activity, families celebrating graduations, none of them knowing what was coming. Finally, Margaret pulled back, wiped her eyes. What do we do now? I pulled out my phone, called Marcus. He answered on the second ring. William, everything okay? I need you in Lake Louise. I have evidence of an ongoing fraud operation. Recorded confession of extortion. Multiple witnesses. Can you bring local RCMP? I'll be there in 90 minutes. I hung up, looked at Margaret. We're going to stop her. Together. Margaret nodded, stood straighter. I want to help. Whatever you need. I need you to keep Natasha from knowing we've called police. Can you do that? Yes. The next 90 minutes were the longest of my life. Margaret went back to the other graduates, acting normal. Diane and I waited in the lobby, watching Natasha meet with families, collecting commitment letters, playing her part perfectly. At 5 p.m., 2 RCMP vehicles pulled up outside. Marcus got out with 3 uniformed officers. I met them in the parking lot, handed over the recorder, the files, everything. We'll need to interview witnesses, Marcus said, and we'll need your sister to file a formal complaint. She will. They entered the lodge with quiet professionalism. Found Natasha in the conference room mid-meeting with another family. Marcus identified himself, asked if they could speak privately. Natasha's face went perfectly neutral. Of course, officer. How can I help? We'd like to discuss some allegations regarding your business practices. I'm happy to cooperate, but I'll need my lawyer present. That's your right. In the meantime, we're placing you under investigation for fraud and extortion. You're not under arrest, but we'd appreciate your cooperation. I watched Natasha's mask crack, just slightly. enough to see the rage underneath. "This is harassment. That man," she pointed at me, "has been stalking me, making false accusations. This is a vendetta. We have recorded evidence, ma'am. Multiple witnesses. Financial records. We'll be conducting a thorough investigation." Natasha tried to leave. One of the officers stepped in front of the door. Not blocking, just present. "Where's James Patterson?" Marcus asked. "I don't know what you're talking about. Your business partner. We'd like to speak with him as well." Natasha went very still, calculating. Then, "I want my lawyer." "Of course. We'll continue this at the Calgary RCMP detachment on Monday." They escorted Natasha out. The families in the hall watched, confused. The graduates looked shocked. Margaret stood with her arms wrapped around herself, watching the woman who'd controlled her life being walked out by police. In the chaos that followed, Diane and I explained to the other families what had happened, showed them evidence. Some refused to believe. Others broke down crying. A few got angry at us for disrupting things. But, slowly, understanding spread. The Jasper property didn't exist. The investments were a scam. Natasha had been using them all. Over the next week, details emerged. James Patterson was arrested trying to board a flight to the Caymans. Police froze the offshore accounts, recovered over $400,000. The investigation uncovered 23 women who'd invested in New Horizons, losing amounts ranging from $5,000 to $120,000. Margaret filed formal complaints. So did Patricia Bennett and 5 others Diane contacted. The civil case built quickly, but Margaret's recovery was slower. She moved into my guest room too ashamed to face her old friends, too broke to afford her own place. She'd lost her townhouse sale money, her divorce settlement, her savings, everything. The depression that followed was worse than anything after David. This time, she'd done it to herself. That knowledge was crushing. I sat with her through it, helped her find a good therapist, covered her expenses without comment, let her rage and cry and slowly, painfully, rebuild. In October, Margaret started working part-time at a bookstore. Small steps, regaining dignity, learning to trust herself again. Diane became a regular visitor. She and Margaret bonded over shared experience. Both had been in Natasha's orbit. Both had lost things they couldn't replace. The friendship helped Margaret feel less alone. One evening in November, I found Diane and Margaret in my kitchen making dinner together. They were laughing about something, that easy laughter of people who understand each other. I stood in the doorway watching, feeling something shift in my chest. Diane noticed me, smiled. "Are you going to help or just supervise?" I joined them. The 3 of us cooked together, ate together, talked late into the night about Natasha's trial, about recovery, about building new lives from ruins. After Margaret went to bed, Diane and I sat in my living room. She was curled in Sarah's old armchair, comfortable in my space in a way that felt natural. "Thank you," she said, "for letting me be part of this, for giving me a chance to make amends. You helped save my sister. I'm the one who's grateful." Diane looked at me seriously. "This thing we've been doing, this partnership, I don't want it to end when the trial's over." Neither do I. The trial happened in February. Natasha pleaded not guilty, claimed everything was legitimate business. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the witnesses, the financial forensics. The jury deliberated 3 hours. Guilty on 9 counts of fraud, 4 counts of extortion, 2 counts of money laundering. The judge sentenced her to 6 years. James got 4. Margaret testified, stood in front of the courtroom, and told her story. How vulnerable she'd been, how Natasha had exploited that, how she'd lost everything. When it was over, we left the courthouse together. March snow falling light over Calgary. Margaret stopped on the steps, breathed deep. "I'm free," she said. By April, Margaret had her own apartment again, small but hers. She was managing the bookstore now, making enough to survive, attending support groups for financial fraud victims, helping others who'd been scammed. One Saturday, she came to my house for dinner, found Diane there cooking, looked between us, smiled. "About time," she said. "Mom would have liked her." "Your mom?" I corrected. "Sarah would have liked her very much." The three of us ate dinner together, talked about simple things, books and movies and plans for summer, normal conversation unmarked by crisis. As they were leaving, Margaret hugged me tight. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I was awful. You're my sister. I couldn't give up even if I wanted to." After they left, I stood in my house thinking about the past year. The fear, the frustration, the pain of watching Margaret choose delusion, the victory of bringing Natasha down, the unexpected gift of Diane's presence in my life. Revenge wasn't destroying Natasha. Revenge was this: my sister free and healing, a new relationship built on shared battle, a family reconstructed from pieces. I walked to the window. The mountains stood eternal against the evening sky, steady and unchanging, like the bond between siblings that survives even when it's tested to breaking. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments below. To listen to more true stories of justice and family loyalty, click on the suggested video. Thank you for watching,